Well, good morning. Happy Sunday to you. It's great to see you. Hopefully, this morning you got your extra cup of coffee. You're wide awake with us on this spring forward weekend, and just excited to be together this morning. And we want to certainly welcome everyone that's worshiping with us online. And as Liz said in our welcome video, if you are relatively new to our church, we would love to be able to connect with you and to share more information about our church with you. And there's our online Connect card on our church website. But also next Sunday, we have a Connect class at 11 o'clock, both in person and online. This would be a great way to take a step further into our church, and we'll talk more about what we believe. It's a very informal setting, and of course, ways that you could get connected on a deeper level here at Worthington Christian Church. We would love to have you join us for that class, if you're relatively new to our church. This morning, we're going to continue in our series. We started a brand new series last week titled The One. And like we said last week, we've had this series circled on our calendars for quite some time. We've been looking forward to this series here in March as we are looking at the parables that Jesus says in Luke chapter 15. And maybe you're thinking, okay, what do we mean by the term the one? Well, we believe that God has placed people in our circle of influence in our lives who we see on a regular basis who are yet to know Him, who are yet to say, okay, Jesus, you are the Son of God, who are yet to follow Him. Maybe they're family members. Maybe it's neighbors, co-workers, people that we see on a regular basis. And Jesus, in Luke chapter 15, shares the desires of His heart to go after the one, to go after the people who are yet to know Him. So the one refers to people in our lives, again, who are yet to know Him. And the second term that we use often is the term yet. Do you notice the term yet? There's some anticipation with that something is going to happen. It's not quite right now, but here it will happen in the future. There's a positive outlook to that. And we believe that once someone that we care about, who's yet to follow Jesus, understands more about who Jesus is, understands more about His love and His grace, they have no other option but to choose to follow Him. There's this optimism to that. So we believe that there are people in our lives that we can be more attentive to, that we can be a little bit more intentional with, who are yet to know and follow Jesus. And to help us serve as a reminder, we have magnets that we've been passing out during this series. We had them last week. If you don't have one, we have them at the tables there by the communion on the way to come in and on your way to go out. We just encourage you to grab one. If you're worshiping with us right now online, we encourage you to come in during the week. We have these in our offices. Come in, grab one. If you can't get out, let us know. We will get one to you. But hang this up somewhere in your house, your garage, your workplace, wherever, where you could see this on a regular basis. And when you see this, you are reminded of the one person that God has placed in your life who's yet to know Him, and you can simply stop, pause, and pray for that person. The bottom of the magnet says Luke 15:4. Luke 15:4 tells us that the shepherd leaves the 99 to go after the one. Leaves the 99 to go after the one. Let's continue on in Luke chapter 15 this morning. Luke 15 verses 1 and 2 really set the stage for what takes place throughout the entire chapter. This is what Luke 15, 1 and 2 reads. It says, now the tax collectors and sinners, remember that word from last week, there's the quotations, Jay highlighted that for us last week, were all gathering around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. This man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Now, we have two groups of people in the first two verses here. We have the tax collectors and sinners, and then we have the teachers of the law and the Pharisees. The tax collectors and sinners, Jesus is with them. And it's not simply that Jesus is just in their presence. It's not simply that Jesus talks with them, but Jesus welcomes them. He eats with them. He lives life with them. And the, quote, religious elite, they can't understand this. Why does he associate himself with them? Why does he live life with them? Why does he welcome them? See, there's a difference, isn't there, between just saying that someone is welcome, but then actually spending time with them to make them feel welcome. Jesus could have easily just talked with them for a moment. He could easily just spend a few words with them and moved on, but no, what the, quote, religious elite realized? They realized that he takes time with them, that he welcomes them. Again, there's a difference between saying someone's welcome and having them feel like they are welcome. And the difference is hospitality. The difference is hospitality. And Romans tells us this, as followers of Jesus, Romans tells us this in Romans chapter 12, always be eager to practice hospitality. Now, if I say the word hospitality or we think about customer service, I'm sure in your minds and in my mind right now, we can think of some businesses, some organizations that make us feel welcome, that are very hospitable, that have great customer service, that they knock this out of the park. They're 5-star on the customer service level. Are you thinking of some right now? That when you go to their restaurant or you go to their place of business, you just know that they are excited that you are there. That they want to do whatever they can to make you feel welcome. That they are there to serve you. You can think of even people like that. That when you go to their house or maybe you stop to talk with them, that they're just not just listening, maybe dozing off while you're talking, but they genuinely are spending time with you. They're interested in what you have to say. They are content. They are right there to be in your presence. That's hospitality. That's good customer service. Now, on the flip side, we can think of other organizations, other businesses, and even people who don't knock this out of the park. That when you go to their place of business, or then when you talk to them, that they aren't as welcoming, they aren't as warm. It's actually a little bit cold, and you don't feel like you fit in, or you don't feel like you belong, or you don't feel like you're accepted. See, the difference is hospitality. When we think about this, what's Jesus' interactions with the sinners and tax collectors as he welcomes them, we're going to ask the question, what does that look like in the church? Is there a difference between saying someone's welcome and making them feel welcome? What does it look like to be hospitable in the church, to practice to good hospitality, to be eager to practice hospitality, especially with the lens of our one? I think it goes to the same measures that Jesus did to make sure that people feel welcome. See, hospitality says, not only do I say that you are welcome, but I'm going to go to make sure that you feel welcome. Again, Jesus could have just talked to him. He could have just said, good morning. He could have said, it's great to see you. Talk to him for a few seconds, then pass him off to somebody else. But no, he spends time with them. He lives life with them. He welcomes them. Because here's the thing. If someone hears that they are welcome and they feel that they are welcome, guess what? They'll believe that they are welcome. And Jesus wanted this group of people to believe that they are welcome. And we look at Jesus' ministry throughout the entire Gospels. We see that this was part of the way that he lived. It was in his DNA. So hospitality has to be woven into the DNA of who we are as Christ followers, and especially as a church, because that's in the very DNA of who Jesus is. When we think of the one, we have to strategically think of ways to make people feel welcome. Now, Jesus, hearing the religious elite talking about the way that he associates, the way that he welcomes, the way that he eats with sinners and tax collectors, he begins to tell these 3 parables. We talked about one parable last week, the parable of the lost sheep. There was 100 sheep. One was lost. The shepherd left the 99 safe sheep to go after the one. Now, in the same context, in the same scene of what we talked about last week, we still have these two groups of people. Jesus then begins to tell another parable. He says this in Luke 15, verse 8. Or, that word is a continuation. Again, the same context as the parable of the lost sheep. Or, suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? In this parable, lady has 10 coins. She loses one. One's lost. Now she has 9 safe coins. So what does she do? She goes looking for it. Now this lost coin, this silver coin, would have been equivalent to a day's wage, a Roman denarii. And so what would she do if she lost a day's worth of pay? What would you do if today you lost your wallet, had a day's worth of salary in there, or you lost your purse, had a day's worth of salary in there? What would you do? You'd go looking for it, right? We wouldn't just let it go. She goes looking for it. Now, a typical Palestinian house would have been made with mud brick walls and dirt floors. So there would have been little, if any, light in this house. So she goes, she grabs a lamp, she turns it on, she lights it up, and she takes it in this dark house to light up all the corners, all the crevices of this dark house so she could see. She grabs a broom. Let's pay attention to that. She grabs a broom, and she starts to sweep, thinking, okay, maybe this coin is buried underneath the dirt somewhere. Maybe it's lost. Maybe she gets underneath the table, looks behind the chairs. She simply grabs a broom. Again, think about this parable of the lost coin in the context of the lost sheep. What do we notice? We notice there's some intentionality, isn't there? To find that what is lost. To go after the lost sheep, to go after the lost coin. There's some intentionality. There's a well thought out search. Let's all do something here this morning. Everybody, grab your cell phone. Grab your cell phone. You can pull them out. It's okay. And while you're getting your cell phone, I want to take this time to highlight we have a church app. I don't know if you've heard us talk about that. I know it sounds a little bit like an infomercial at times, but really, we do have a church app. It's great. WC Church on the App Store. You can grab it. It is like a digital bulletin. That's enough for the infomercial. But you got your cell phone. This cell phone, it means a lot to us, doesn't it? Even when we say we don't like this thing is a center to our livelihood. It has all of our contacts on there. It has, we can text people. We can get a hold of someone like that. Especially in this previous year, you can FaceTime somebody and see them. It has our calendar. You can email. Everything's on this phone, right? Now imagine you have your phone and you're not going through social media during the sermon, but you're actually, maybe you're on a church app going through the Bible and you lay your phone down and you put it on the pew beside you. Or maybe you put it on the floor in front of you. And then after service, you get up and you walk out and you go into the atrium and you're talking with somebody. Or maybe you go over to get your kids out of the check-in area after class. And you head out of church. And you either go home for lunch or you go to a restaurant or maybe you sit down at a restaurant and have the QR code now because we can't pass out menus. And you pull out your phone and uh-oh, I can't find it. Maybe you're at home and you're like, okay, I can't find my phone. What do you do the moment you realize that you've lost your phone? You start to search for it. You start in your mind, start retracing the steps. Okay, that's not in my pockets, it's not in my coat. Maybe you check your purse, it's not in your purse. You go out to the car, you look under the seat, you look down the side of the seat, you look everywhere. You try to find it. Then you start retracing your steps. Okay, I was at church, I was in this section of the pews. Maybe you call the church from somebody else's phone, or maybe you come back and you say, has anybody turned one in? Has anybody lost the phone? If you got an iPhone, maybe you go to the Find My Phone app or on the website and you try to find where it is on the map. You can play the alert sound. Or maybe you have somebody call your phone. Everybody be quiet. I'm going to call my phone. See if you can hear it. hoping somebody picks it up. Now, we all know somebody. We either have somebody in our family or we all know somebody in our lives that's constantly losing things, right? Maybe it's a phone, maybe it's keys. But they're constantly losing things. You know what? I get convicted when I think about how hard I would search for this dumb electronic device or a set of keys or lost headphones or a wallet. I get convicted on how hard I would search for that. See, if you lost your phone or you left your phone here today, you wouldn't go home and have lunch and then after lunch say, okay, I'm going to take my afternoon nap. It'll turn up someplace. It'll just show up. No, there would be an intentional search to find what is lost. And Jesus is saying, okay, here's what happens when we lose a lost sheep. Here's what happens. Okay, here's another example. When there's a lost coin. In this parable, there isn't this lost coin will just turn up somewhere. It'll just show up one day. No, there's an intentional, well-thought-out search. And I get convicted because I know how hard I would search for this thing. I got to ask myself, okay, am I being that intentional with the people in my lives who are yet to know Jesus? Because here's the thing. The quality of the search determines the value of what is lost. The quality of the search determines the value of what is lost. We would search a lot differently, wouldn't we, for a lost wallet than we would a lost pair of socks. The quality of the search determines the value of what is lost. And guess what, church? We are valuable. People in our lives who are yet to know Jesus, guess what? They are valuable. So much more valuable even to God than to us. In the very beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And guess what? He said it was good. God created an expanse separating the waters. And he said, it is good. And then God created vegetation, plants, animals. He said, it is good. God created the sun, the stars in the very sky. And he said, it is good. And then on the final day, on the sixth day, God said, let us make man, let's like male and female in the very image of God. And God said, it is very good. We are the only beings created in the entire universe in the very image of God. And just to affirm how valuable we are to God, since Genesis chapter 3, God has been on a search to find what is lost. Since Adam and Eve sinned, God has been on a search to find what is lost by sending his Son in the very image of which we were created to come and find, to save that which is lost. Jesus said himself in Luke 19, he says this in Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man, telling this is my mission. This is why I'm here. The Son of Man came to seek, to search, to find, to save the lost. There isn't just a it'll show up sometime attitude in this parable, and there isn't just a show up sometime attitude with God. When we boil this series down to the bare bones, we get this series down into its most simplest form. We see that God sent Jesus to come, save, and find me. If you're a follower of Jesus this morning, as Jay said last week, there's a good chance that someone spiritually invested into you. That somebody prayed for you. You know what that tells me? I was somebody's one. Somebody prayed that I would come into an eternal relationship with Jesus. Somebody was intentional, showing me what it means to follow Jesus. Somebody was intentional in walking me through the gospel and showing me the good grace of Jesus. I was somebody's one. Somebody invested into me. If you're a follower of Jesus this morning, you know how good of a gift His grace is, and how thankful that someone walked alongside to help show you Jesus. Lady loses a coin. She goes on an intense search. Let's light the lamp. Let's get the broom. Let's start sweeping until we find it. And guess what? She finds it. Verse 9 of chapter 15 tells us this. And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice. Rejoice with me. I have found my lost coin." I love this. We see this again. In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of angels of God over one sinner who repents. There is celebration. And we will talk about that celebration more in the next 2 weeks. But there is celebration when that which is lost is then found. There's a tale of a boy hearing about this for the first time in confirmation class. He hears the parable for the first time, and at the end of the parable, he shouts out, "That was dumb. That was stupid. She spent more on the party than what the coin was even worth." That's so true, isn't it? Because this parable isn't a parable of economics. It's a parable of God's grace. And God's grace is so, so big. And since Genesis chapter 3, when sin entered the world, God has been on a pursuit to find that which is lost, to restore that which is broken. So the question we asked this morning, if you're a follower of Jesus, we've got to ask this question. Because there was two crowds there, right? If you're a follower of Jesus, we've got to ask the question, what is it that God is asking of me? Why would Jesus say this parable? What is Jesus saying? I believe it's this. I believe Jesus is saying, "Hey, Austin, you see that broom over there in the corner? Go grab a broom. Grab a broom and help me search. Grab a broom and start sweeping. Grab a broom and look under the table, look behind the chairs. You start sweeping and something might be buried down in the dirt. Grab a broom and help me in my search." Again, we don't save anyone. Jesus is the only one that saves, but we can be used by Him to join Him in His search. In church, there are lost coins all around us, just waiting for someone to help point them to Jesus. So if you're a follower of Jesus this morning, grab a broom. Grab a broom and start sweeping, start searching. Join Jesus. Leave today saying, "God, you can use me. I'm going to be intentional. Show me, Lord." Maybe this morning you're hearing this parable and you're thinking, okay, I relate a little bit more to the lost coin. You've yet to accept Jesus. We would love to be able to talk with you and share with you more about God's grace. We invite you to come down after service today. We can pray with you and talk to you more about your next step. And if you're worshiping with us online right now and you're thinking, okay, what does this mean? What's the grace of God? How do you accept that? Please say something in the chat. You can get prayer. We would love to be able to follow up with you. Because the quality of the search determines the value of what is lost, right? Well, Jesus Himself came to find, to seek, and to save the lost. Would you pray with me? Father, we thank you. We thank you that you get to tell us. How incredible is it that 2021, we get to open up the Bible and you get to tell us your heart. In Luke 15, to go after the one, to seek and save the lost. Lord, thank you for finding us. We want to walk alongside you in this journey. Use us, Lord. It's in your name we pray. Amen.